Welcome to Contractor Cuts, where we cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a successful contracting company.
Welcome to Contractor Cuts. My name is Clark Turner.
And I'm James McConnell.
And thank you for joining the Clark and James Show. Ooh. Not yet. All right, so today we are covering the beginning of step 3 of our 7 steps of our operating system. This is our deepest, biggest, probably 50 to 80% of the operating system exists in step 3 in terms of planning, processing, thinking through. So we're going to break this into 2 different parts, actually probably 3 or 4 podcasts. We're going to talk about the first part of step 3, kind of level 1 and 2 of what you should be doing process-wise as a company. If you are a larger company with multi-employee, listen to this and see what's already in place and compare it to what you've got. If you are a 1-man, 2-man band, listen, see what you need to put into place. Today, getting going, covering the 7 steps. If this is the first time you've listened, it'd be best to go back a few weeks and listen to the one from January, probably 2 episodes ago, where we kind of cover what the operating system is. But our operating system is really 7 steps of how a construction company should operate. Everyone's got an operating system in their brain. The vision and structure, you know where you're going, the job roles, you know what you're doing, kind of, it's just not documented and planned out. Step 3 that we're covering today, core process documentation, which is you have core processes, you just don't have them documented or documented well, or there's holes in them. So that's number 3. Number 4 goes into marketing and client acquisition, then financial metrics, then the hiring playbook. So there's a bunch of different steps that we're going to go throughout this first 6 months of the year. But today we're going to deep dive into number 3, which is our largest step. Make sense? All right.
Yes.
With the core processes, we've kind of built it into 3 levels. And as we said last week, you kind of hit the level 1 in everything and then go to level 2 in everything. So level 1 in structure and vision is, where I'm at today, what's my vision for the next couple of years, where am I headed, job roles, what am I doing today. Core processes are, we need to cover these 2 main ones first. When you're coming into coaching, we start here. You can't do everything all at once. I would love to get financial maturity happening. That will happen once we get these other things started first. So as we grow, just follow along. It's bite-sized pieces. Let me pull it up on here. The core processes. There it is. All right. So core process documentation. Let's talk about the 3 different levels. Level number 1, where you have to start, is what we call our 10-step project management process. This is the process.
A doozy.
This is a doozy. Honestly, this process was the core of our retreats for the first 5 or 6 years. All we would do is get guys into the 10 steps of what that means. So I'm going to deep dive into this one a little bit more next week, where we're going to have a really deep dive into each stage. But today, kind of the bigger picture of the 10-step process is it is intake of a client all the way through the final invoice. And so in the 10-step, it is using your job descriptions and who is doing what where. And so a great example, James is a project manager. I'm the head of construction or general manager of the company. When we have an office manager, and the office manager does the intake, and they do it this way every single time. They queue it up in the software and pass it to me. And I'm going to do the desk estimate, what that means, and we'll dive deep into that. But a desk estimate is putting together the numbers and pricing before we go out on site. It's prepping. It's getting our first date done. So when we're on site, it's the second date. It's really impressing your client at the same time, saving your time and effort to really be succinct and utilizing it well, to where I'm spending 30 minutes putting this together, and I'm on site, and I'm on site for an hour instead of 2 hours. I'm not taking notes. We're not going to deep dive into desk estimate today, but I'm doing the desk estimate. Then I pass it to James, who's going to now be doing the site estimate. And this is where that transition happens. And James is now the point of contact. And this is how we do that. Now that James is doing the on-site, he's doing revisions. And it comes back where we're sitting down and I'm approving those revisions. And he's talking with the client. Every step from when they call us until they sign the contract. And then we pick out selections and we plan out the Gantt chart, then we do pre-construction, then we do construction, then this is how we run the crews, and this is how we onboard the right crews, and this is how the post-construction happens, this is how we close out a job, this is how we do follow-ups. All of that stuff is choreographed and written out. Now you're doing that, right? Like everyone does that. And James.
Yes.
James, hi.
Go ahead.
From 10 years ago, how much do you think, the first time that we documented our 10 steps, in your opinion, how much do you think it's morphed from then till now in terms of our growth? When it was just the three of us at the very beginning to where it's at now, what do you think the change has been? Where do you think we've gotten it tighter? Or do you feel like it's very similar to our original 10 steps?
It's definitely not very similar. I feel like the natural progression of things, because we didn't have ProStruct to give us a template.
Yeah.
It was very much, here's how we do it. And the first iteration was, what could be better?
Yeah.
That was like the first iteration, and it's a constant.
Also, you're kind of doing that. We should write that down.
Yeah. And maybe we should, like you get to a certain section, you're like, there's a lot more detail in here. Maybe we need to break this down instead of it being like one ABC. There's one A1, A2, A3.
Yeah.
Like it just, you start to identify the areas that needs more clarity, needs more steps.
Yeah.
But it's also like, you also don't want it to be something that's not consumable for the people that you're hiring.
Yep.
And so like free-versing a journal entry about how to do a certain thing is great, but you need to, what's the word?
Refine,
but what is it when you're like squeezing olives into olive oil?
Pressure test? I don't know what. I've never squeezed olives.
You got to take this whole thing and you're just like, and you get the juice out.
Yeah. Like, get it defined down to where it's not just like if this then that, but the idea of the theory behind it is what you're teaching guys, right? Like that's not part of the process. Yes.
That's the teaching behind the curtain, which can also be written out.
Yeah.
But it's not something that you can just say, hey, read this book.
Yep. It's let me walk you through it. Let me show you the why. Let me explain how this. Like there's some in the weed stuff. Like they will assign it to you in the software, and at that point you're going to get a text message notification that the job's on your plate. Then you need to go and open up the job and see what's happening. Like there's certain in the weeds, like step 1, step 2, step 3 stuff that's there, but then there's also like the bigger picture of the why to understand. Like, sometimes we skip desk estimates, and it's not that we skip it. We skip the meeting with the client because of X and Y and Z. And so it's more of the theory combined with like, this is what you're responsible for when the ball's on your plate.
I think it makes the biggest changes occur when, as far as like how it started for us, the biggest changes occur when like something like a whole new header is added to the thing, like a desk estimate.
Yeah.
I remember that being one of the bigger things that shifted, and it changed a lot of dynamics.
Yeah.
And so when something,
there was a ripple.
Yeah. And like you do it a couple times and you're like, okay, yeah, this works really well. I think we are going to stick with this, but here's where it's clunky.
Yeah.
And so I think it's changed. I mean, it probably changes every year, like to at least a small degree, but some changes are a lot more turbulent than others because there's just like so many. Once you open this door, there's like all these other learning curves that you need to contend with.
Yeah. A couple things about the 10 step. Number one, everything we do in coaching is not because we know better. It's because we've learned the hard way. And so like with the 10 step, we've written all of this stuff and we give you and coach you on this stuff because if I could rewind to 2006 when I started the construction company and I had ProStruct, I would be a absolute like game changer for the company. And so we've built it that way of like, we've spent 15 years working on the 10 step and we're still tinkering with it. Fast forward for figuring it out on your own and take ours and then take it from there and keep tinkering with it.
Yeah.
The second thing about it is when you start coaching, I take you through like you're a project manager for us. And I say, here's our core values and here's our 10 step. You can cut and paste it into your company, but what I want you to do is take it and let's work through how you do this. What about this? And how is that? Okay, so you got that process. That's great. That's great for now. Once you hire someone though, that's got to change. And let me tell you why. And so it's building your own 10-step with ours as make sure that there's a skeleton there of everything that needs to be covered. But, a trades company that I coach is a totally different 10-step than the commercial company versus a home builder versus a home renovation company. They're all different processes and different emphasis, right? Like the pre-construction that is needed on a $10 million commercial ground up build is a lot different than the pre-construction on our HVAC company right before we get in there and get done. Like those are two totally different pre-constructions.
And for commercial too, and I don't know this, I'm not like a commercial guy, but it feels like desk estimate is kind of the run of the mill. Like that's not a new thing. They don't do a lot of on-site. It's, hey, we're bidding on a project. Yeah. Here's the drawings. Here's the specs. You've got 10 guys and they have a month to put together their numbers.
Yeah. The hard part on the commercial side is, do I spend 30 hours on this bid and I got to do 10 of them before I land one? That's 300 hours. How much can I sacrifice and get, like, how do I do it? And again, that's a whole nother podcast about that. But yeah, it's those things change depending your target demographic, what your services that you're offering, what you're actually selling. All of that still, these 10 steps every company's doing it in terms of construction. How you're doing an intake, how you're building estimates, how you're doing revisions, how we do change orders, how we like all of this stuff we're all doing. We need to, here's kind of the standard that we suggest for your style of company. And now let's take that and let's mold it. And I don't care if you change every step. What I'm going to do is pressure test it on, does this work at scale? If you hire someone, can you train them on this? Or is it like, oh, that part of your step is because you make a decision in your brain and I can't train someone to make the right brain decision. I can give them some like guidance, but like you can't have a step, well, just pass it to me and I'll decide. That doesn't work. That's how guys run companies. Like you do all the crap work and the important decisions, loop me in and I'm going to make all those decisions.
Yeah.
That works with 1, maybe 2 hires. You can't scale. You're still brain dependent on that owner. So we need to decrease your brain necessity in the company to increase the revenue. And so these processes allow you to do that. All of them. The 10 step is where we start though, because it's kind of
not
product.
Not just the 10 steps, but your vision statement does that. Your core values do that. They're the filter of how we make decisions.
Yep.
And you might get to a point where you're with somebody that you're expecting to be the guy, and you're like, they're not getting the vision, they're not getting the core processes or the core values, and they're really great, but they're just not going to do that thing.
Yep.
And so you don't need to rework your processes. You need to re-envision what this person is and what their place in your company is, instead of tearing down the woodshed and building a new one.
You got to go back to step 2, job descriptions.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, why are you doing it? Like, why is on my job descriptions in step 2, everything that you do ends with, and then bring it to Clark and then ask Clark. And like, that's not a job description. That's, you're my assistant. You're not a project manager, right?
And it's not really a process.
No, it's the job description at that point is, you're my assistant. I'm going to have you do all the work that it doesn't take a brain to do, and you're really not going to enjoy this job 6 months from now because you have no autonomy, you have no free thought here, you have no value that you're building. All you're doing is eliminating 20 hours of work a week, and I'm paying you for 40, right? And it's really causing me 30 hours of more work because I'm now babysitting you, fixing your issues, dealing with how to manage you, trying to have these hard conversations because I don't have processes like a 10-step in place, or my core values, which is part of the 10-step process. So yeah, that's the importance of this. And that's kind of why, if you've listened to the last few episodes, why it's so important to kind of go down these 7, one at a time and in order, because they build on each other and there's a reason for the order. It's not just, I didn't just Google and look at ChatGPT. What's an operating system? Like, this is built out of how it works inside of a company, in a construction company as it grows. You've got to do it in these orders. So 10-step is the number one place we start. If you come into coaching within during the initial onboarding phase of coming into coaching, we are covering this, going over it. And then if you're in our executive program, you will get the 10-step. We build it out because when you make your first hire, one of our staff, me, James, someone, your coach at the time, when you're there's an option to bring us out and we train your first project manager with you. And I spent 2 days onboarding, training on the core values in the 10-step. This is your job. We make it really, really nice. And we set the stage where it looks very professional, to where your new employee walks away like, oh man, they're a legit company. Well, behind the curtain, it's pretty messy. Well, I get it. That's how all of our companies go with that first, second, third hire. But we want to lay this out and be able to translate it to that first hire and have a line of demarcation once they get started of, this is now your responsibility. Do you agree to this? Now I can hold you accountable to it. So that's what the 10-step is, and that's kind of where we start and a large amount of what we're doing. Level 1, the second process that we start with as well, is weekly management. Now, that's not a process, it's kind of a group of processes. But inside of weekly management, we've kind of identified 4 main ones. We got the calendar management. We've got time spend and capacity identifiers. That's a more accountability of where's time's being spent, how are we identifying your capacity and making you more important per hour. Software management. And then client, crew, and office communication. That's part of weekly management. Now, client, crew, and office communication, that is in the 10-step, but that's also a process that I want weekly on your calendar of how we're doing this. And again, calendar management being the first one of the weekly management ones is kind of the place you start, where we give you Monday through Friday, this is the rhythm that your week should look like as a project manager or as an owner of this company. We have a very defined Monday is on sites, Tuesday is in the office, Wednesday, Thursday open days, Fridays half day. Like, we've got it defined of what you need to do each day. Then we take and say, okay, this is why we do it this way. How does your week work? What's the ideal week for you? Well, I really want my office days on Fridays. I really love office days on Mondays. I really like I walk every single job on Mondays. Great. So that's a field day. That's perfect. What about Tuesday? Tuesdays, I'm doing this. Like, we need to figure out the rhythm of your week. And it's hardest to do this when you're in the field and you're trying to transition out, because you keep getting called back in. So what I do with guys, if you're a laborer trying to transition out of the field and into project management, where you're actually a general contractor, not just a handyman or a trim guy or a plumber, but you're actually project managing as a general contractor, the first step I do with your calendar is say, listen, I want you to own one day, and it's going to be your office day. And that day is when you're going to tell clients you're booked. And before you start any job, you say, hey, just so you know, Tuesdays I'm not here, or Fridays is often easier. I've got office days so I can get my invoices together, I can get my crews paid, I can do all this stuff. And I'm taking a day off and I'm time blocking every minute that day. Own one day on your calendar. And what we want to do is start transitioning. And again, this is another podcast on how to transition out of the field, like in the weeds, the transition of, we got to find a big job and we're going to start subbing out to one job, and I'm still waiting tables. If you listen to old podcasts, I'm waiting tables, exchanging my time for money, I'm swinging the hammer. But then we start cherry picking stuff that I'm doing and subbing the rest of it out. And it's about cash flow at that point and how much I need to make and all that transition. All that being said, we start owning Monday through Friday. And so what does Monday look like? What does Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday look like? I'm still in the field some. I can't come fully into project management until I get more revenue coming through here. So Wednesdays and Thursdays are my work day. So I'm going to book myself as a sub on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I'll be out doing the work then. But Mondays, I'm walking job sites and doing estimates. Tuesday, I'm getting my software perfect. I'm sending out invoices. I'm prepping payments for the guys. Wednesday, Thursday, I'm working. Friday. Anyways, I'm going deep and I'm running fast on it. But all this to say, kind of zooming out, calendar management is part of level 1 processes. because until you own your time, everybody else is going to own your time for you. If I don't plan what I'm doing, my crew's going to plan, my wife's going to plan, my client's going to plan, my children are planning. Like, hey, I need to be dropped off. Well, I can't. Let's figure out how you're going to do that. Like, if I don't have a plan for my time, other people will plan it for me. And so owning your calendar is the only way to be able to work on all of this stuff. So the calendar management is number one. Software management, how am I doing that weekly? Client, crew, office communication. That's all stuff that we have to really plan out when we're looking at weekly management. Sorry, I kind of diatribe or monologued on that one.
It's okay. It was really well spoken.
James and I are going to do a deep dive probably next week into calendar management, maybe in 2 weeks. I think next week I'll do my 10 step, but we're going to deep dive into how to manage a calendar. James is probably James has inspired and gotten me better at calendar management. It's been something that's always been a struggle for me, and you kind of set the bar when we were running the companies as to how to do it. And I was like, oh, yes. And so my calendar now looks like how I've always wanted it, where literally every hour of the week is blocked. And so getting there is not overnight. And so we're going to talk about that in a couple weeks of how to manage your calendar, how to go through these weekly management processes, and how to get going on them. You're not going to master them day one, but we need to start taking incremental steps to growth on weekly management in your calendar. All right, so that's in the core process. Those are the first two. There's 8 total core processes that we're going to cover. Like I said, this is part 1. We're going to do a couple week deep dives into these, and then we're going to do part 2. So to finish out part 1, we're covering level 1 and level 2. Level 1 was the 10-step and the weekly management. Let's get into level 2. Level 2 are both very important processes that you're doing now, but we don't have them defined. I care about them. They're just as important as anything else, but you have to do the 10-step and the weekly to be able to build time and space to work on these next 2, which are level 2. So level 2, the first one is financial management. Processes for financial management. That's credit accounts, cash flow management. That's QuickBooks, receipts, accounts payable management. And that's projecting and planning cash flow and financials for the company. You say, Clark, I thought you had a level in the 7 steps that's about finances. We do. It's called financial metrics. The difference of financial management processes and a full step of financial metrics is that the processes are what an accountant does in a company. Financial metrics is what a CFO does in a company, right? So the processes of gathering, looking at, and having the data pooled and organized are core processes that we have to build. Later on, once we get that, and once we get through these processes and we get our marketing going, we get into financial metrics, which is I am looking and assessing this data to make decisions day in and day out in this company. I'm saying no to opportunities because the financial data says I should. I'm saying yes to this hire because the financial data says I should. So it gets confusing when there's financial management in the core processes and then a full step of the operating system's financial metrics, but that's kind of the difference. Does that make sense?
The financial, the financial management, it's vetting the numbers. It's making sure that you're reconciling everything and that the numbers that you need to look at to make decisions are accurate.
Yep.
Because if you're not managing it, the CFO can't do anything with the numbers.
Yep. That's right. It's also how I'm teaching my office manager. I'm teaching my project managers of how we do receipts, right? There's a lot of the processes in my head are, this is everything I'm going to teach someone else to where I can step out and all of this stuff's happening. It's good. Now, when I step out, I still need to be looking at the financial metrics. As the owner of the company and I'm doing a 1 to twice a month board meeting with my general manager, that's financial metrics. I'm looking at the numbers. What do you say? This is telling us what's happening in the company, what's coming.
It's like, and you've said this before a lot on the retreat, but it's a lot like, you didn't say this part. It's a lot like using ChatGPT. You need to have a very quick bullshit meter on what is, you put all this stuff in a chat and it sends you something out that's construction based. And you're looking at that's not right because
Yes.
this should look different if this
Yes.
is true. When you are doing the financial metrics, that is where you need that bullshit meter of these numbers don't make sense.
This doesn't add up.
This doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Hey, when you did this, tell me how you got there. Like you need to be able to have that level of knowledge,
Yeah.
not to do you don't want to be the accountant anymore, but you need the knowledge of being in that seat
Yeah.
to know when there's red flags.
That's a great point. The financial metrics in this, both of those, and I think what you're referring to on the retreat was, I really defined the question: do I need to hire? Can I hire an accountant? And the financial metrics is what you and your company and the knowledge that you have to have. Now, an accountant is going to help pull that stuff together. They might start helping identify taxes, doing reconciliations at the end of the month to see what's missing or what's wrong with the data. They're going to do your taxes at the end of the year. They might even help you pull together some reports for the metrics. But what you have to know is you need to know what I'm looking at and what the data means, because they can't be those eyes for you. They can't be that brain, because then someone else is making all the decisions for your company, and that's how you crash a company. So my accountant is paid to crunch numbers, not to be my CFO. And so to be a CFO, you have to understand the numbers and where they're coming from. So what that means, like my example was like, I don't need to know exactly how an electrician runs a full panel and when the 220 versus a 110 and all. Like, I don't have to know the depths of that, but I do know as a contractor what a panel should look like, how we pass inspection, the distance of that an outlet needs to be from a water source, the height of it, like all of the basics of electrical. So I can walk through and say, yeah, that looks good, electrician. That looks good, electrician. Where's the light switch for this? Because when I walk in the room, and I can correct my electrician, even though he's more knowledgeable about electrical, because I'm like, hey, actually, this needs to be a three-way because I have a vision for where we're going. The electrician's paid to put the electrical in place for me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Is that confusing?
Totally. No.
But again, most guys are like, I'm not good at QuickBooks, so I'm going to hire an accountant. And that's like saying, I don't know anything about electrical, so I'm going to hire an electrician, and I hope the house looks good at the end. You can't run, you will never be successful as a contractor running that way. You have to have some knowledge and understanding of what the final product of the electrical plan looks like. Mm-hmm. You don't have to know exactly what level gauge wire you're going to need. That's helpful. And the fact that I know QuickBooks really, really well is super helpful when I'm dealing with my accountant. Like when I'm coaching guys and they're on the executive level, I get in a meeting with them and their accountant. I'm like asking questions. It's like, wait, what are you asking about? The more I know about electrical, the better I am as a contractor. That doesn't mean I have to be a master electrician. It helps. It's super helpful, but there's not that requirement. I can outsource the master electrician. I just need to know the master plan and what the results need to look like. So that's the financial management. And again, we got projections, how our project managers build out monthly and weekly what I'm going to be invoicing and why. There's a depth to that, not just for our cash flow management, but also my project manager thinking, okay, I committed to invoice $180,000 this month. Week 1, I'm going to do 10, and now I'm going to week 2, and I'm projecting another 10. So I'm halfway through the month, and I've invoiced 20, but I promise you 180. There's a flag here, and we're not at the end of the month yet. So that sort of view, a lot of these things are kind of 3 birds with 1 stone of I'm understanding the projections, or I can see my accounts receivable, and I'm using my accounts receivable, my projections to invoice this week, and my bank account. Those 3 things combined are telling me my cash flow right now. And so how are we hunting this money down? Who do we need to talk to? All of that stuff needs to be planned ahead of time, not, oh crap, I looked at the bank account, we got $12 left. What are we going to do? Who can we invoice? Right? And that is the wrong way to do it, and that's how you don't grow.
And that's how you end up robbing Peter to pay Paul.
That's how you
we could invoice this, but that's a hard stop.
I feel like we can name this podcast "Don't Rob Peter to Pay Paul," and if we can just get that point across, you're going to be halfway there.
Yeah,
and getting going.
It is a big battle for a lot of folks.
All right, so that's number 1 on level 2. I got so many different numbers and letters.
I know.
I know. So the
Maybe do animal names for the level numbers.
Okay, so we got tadpole. We've got frog. We got egg, tadpole, and frog. Level 2, tadpole level. Financial management's number 1, and the second one, again, these aren't in no particular order because they both need to be worked on, is product quality, right? And so that means crew vendor onboarding, crew vendor management, crew vendor development. How do I make the product that my client's receiving better? We coach about 2 products that you're delivering. You've got the end result of what you're giving them, and you've got the experience of receiving it. Those are 2 separate products, and that's what we're building here. Most guys think it's the end result. Your kitchen looks good. Why are you complaining? Why this Karen got an amazing, immaculate kitchen and still won't pay me? Because the second product was terrible. You never showed up on time. There was weeks at a time that you weren't there. You never sent her an email communicating anything happening. They had to hire the electrician. Like the process of getting that product was terrible. And so you're not selling them what they're actually buying, which is that process.
Yeah. If the final product was awesome, but they were still upset because of the experience, I guarantee you one of the things that client is going to say is, I just felt like I was project managing.
Yeah. Yep. They took the wheel. They moved from passenger to driver and pushed you in the back seat. And now you're part of this, but they're driving the whole thing, right? That product experience.
When I hear someone gearing up to say that, it goes slow for me. It's like, I just feel like I'm project manager. I'm like, oh, you said it.
Project manager.
This is construction 101.
You know, I was on Chat GPT the other day, and
Oh,
it
were
says, like, to build a Gantt chart, you should do it this way.
Oh, I'm going to really look into that.
Oh, let me take notes. This is my
you.
first time ever running a project.
You know, when I was running piping back in 2020.
I was in the pipe fitters union.
We did it different.
Back in 1998. And when I was running it, okay. Anyways, so there's 2 products during product quality. We've got the product we're delivering, whether if you're a tradesman, it's your crews and your technicians that are out there doing the work. And then the next one down is client expectation setting, managing, and achieving. That's the other product. How is my client experience this? Like James said a second ago, like a 95% perfect kitchen and a 100% client experience gets you a referral every time. A 100% perfect kitchen with a 95% experience, the client might think twice about referring you out. Yeah, they were good. I really liked the kitchen's beautiful, but I had to kind of babysit James the whole time. I don't want my neighbors to have to deal with that. I don't want my mom.
James, take that out of your mouth. James, don't touch that.
So that's those 2 product qualities. And the middle one too of product quality is job site setup, calibration walks, and management. Again, that's kind of the molding between client management and crew and product management is the job site setup, calibration walks, managing kind of the coordination, the orchestra and choreography of how the project actually is going. The 10-step really kind of happening there.
Can I talk about benchmarks, or is that too deep?
No, let's do it. It's good.
So for product quality, I think one of the things that not only is going to help with your quality, but is going to save your butt on go back work. And I have a great example. Flooring is it should be so easy to make sure that we are all golden before we put floors down.
Yep.
One of the things that we do for flooring, everything's been demoed out. We know there's going to be some prep work. One of the benchmark walks is after we do the demo, we do the floor prep, client comes and walks with us, making sure there's nothing, because everyone has different sensitivity. Like you could be walking around upstairs, downstairs, whatever, and they feel, oh, this feels uneven here. Okay, great. We could still do some self-leveling. But you also have your flooring guy out there with the 12-foot, level, and making sure that everything is level. You can show the client, hey, over here, this is all level. Do you feel anything underfoot? No, great. And then when you lay the floors down, even if there is an issue, you've actually walked it with the client they also blessed it, and there's actually a discussion that can be had there.
Yeah.
Versus
And a change order that could be had.
In a change order.
We need to pour some self-leveling concrete if you want this perfect. This is industry standard, fine. But if you want it perfect, like you be the call. And so
Yes.
that way, I might have a $4,000 change order, and they're extremely happy that we're making it that way. Versus what you're talking about, you don't do that. You get to the end, they're like, I don't like these floors. I need you to rip them up and redo it. And now I'm paying for the self-leveling.
There's a bump here in the middle. Well, how could we have caught that in the beginning? Well, we could have walked, same with like tile and the walls not being square. And then once everything's done, the right side is bumped out a half inch beyond the left side.
Yep.
Once you have to make that call at that point in the project, you're talking about thousands of dollars versus, hey, we're at the framing stage. We framed this out. It looks like this. We should have checked the wall for square at demo.
Yep.
And now we're at the framing stage. We can still adjust things. We can still, it'll take a day, but we can take this down, reframe this wall a little bit and make it all square. But if you don't have a benchmark walk where you are putting it in your calendar, you're putting it in your scope, hey, we're going to verify that this is ready for us to move on to the next phase.
Yeah.
You're opening yourself up for a lot of cash that you're going to have to eat.
And bigger picture, what James is talking about is when we build an estimate, he thinks through, we kind of have these lines of, we need a signature here so we can put something on top of it, right? Like framing, flooring, right before we put the flooring in, if we did new subfloors or any sort of demo, even pulling carpet off and then putting hardwood down, I need them to look at it post-carpet rip-off because it feels different and stuff like that of, we need to have these benchmark walks. So he puts a line item in the scope at $0. I'm not charging you to do this, but I want you to know we're going to lose a day or two to make sure that this looks good. And so we're going to put it on our Gantt chart. We're doing a benchmark walk on Friday. No crews are going to be out there.
Yeah, and the client needs to be with you.
Yes.
It's part of they're part of this experience. It's another buy-in for the client. Like, hey, this isn't just us executing. We need you to be part of that process, making sure that when we're about to move on to the next phase, we're on the same page that this is good.
Yes. The whole goal of what we're preaching and coaching on is I am your advocate and guide to receive this renovation the right way. It's not you're buying a kitchen from me. You're not buying an addition from me. You are hiring me to guide you through the addition process, guide you through the renovation. So, hey, like you would do this with your wife. Like, hey, come look at this. What do you think about this? Should we fix this or should we keep going? Right. And so why don't we do that with clients? Why isn't there this benchmark walk where it's like, hey, time out, everyone come in here. I think the floors look good. We got a little dip in that corner, but you're never going to see that. We can fix that, but we're talking a couple grand. Are you fine with it? Do you want us to level it? Like you make the call. This is your house. This is your project. What do you want? Well, I really thought that'd be covered. Well, it's not. Like we didn't have any self-leveling in the scope. And this is why we pause here to do this, is to make sure that it's that a 40-year-old house that has flaws in it, you're okay with us building on top of, right? And so you start, and it's an easy conversation now versus fast forward to the end of the job, like this looks bad, your flooring stinks, you owe me money back, rip this flooring out and fix it. And now it's, instead of me getting $4,000 and making the client happy, I'm now spending $8,000 and the client's still giving me a bad review. So again, benchmark walks is that middle one. So like the crew vendor management, how to develop them, how to grow them, how to onboard them into your company, how we manage the job site setup, calibration walks, benchmarks, management, and then the client experience, how we're setting their expectations, the client engagement agreement. Again, that's part of the 10-step, but how do we refine that? How do we manage and achieve the client's happiness? Again, all of these processes interweave, right? Like the weekly management of how I'm managing the software, and once a week I sit down and I ask my 3 questions about the software and send a communication to the client. That's part of my 10-step and my weekly, but that's also part of product quality. And it's also part of financial management because I'm looking at my projections. Like there's all of these weave together, but as you start growing and executing well the first couple, then let's add the other ones in. You're still doing it, but let's refine the next level. So that's kind of the first phase 1 and 2. That's our tadpole and frog of the of core process documentation. We're gonna do some deep dives over the next few weeks into those, and then we're gonna circle back after we cover those, and we're gonna go into level 3 of core process documentation. We're gonna hit the high notes. That's when we're going into hiring. Level 3 is 4 different processes once you have an employee or when you're getting ready to have an employee. What do we need to process out to bring someone into this? Not a laborer, not a worker, not I'm hiring a handyman because I have so much work I can just keep him busy, but I'm hiring a project manager. I'm hiring my first office manager. I'm hiring to bring somebody in here as an estimator. I'm hiring my product quality guy. Like there's a bunch of different hires that you can make as you grow. What needs to be in place for each of those? And how do we do that? How do we prep for that to where we excel in hiring and growth of the company and bringing someone in that's going to be a long-term solution and help us grow this company to the next level? So that's going to be in a few weeks. We'll cover that level. But over the next few weeks, you'll get kind of level 1 and level 2 deep dives into doing this stuff. If you want to talk about this and want to have a free conversation, I love to do like a free 1 hour, let's do a consulting call. It's not a sales call for me. I want to get to know you. I want you to get to know us. I want to kind of show our value. And if I can help you on a free call and in the next few months, what we talk about in 1 hour gets you momentum, then you're going to say, hey, I'm making enough money that return on investment, I want to come into coaching. Right? That's kind of my goal. Come use me for a free session. If it gets you going in the right direction, awesome. Talk to James for an hour. If it gets you going in the right direction, let's join up. If it's not valuable, cool. We'll put our money where our mouth is. So if you want to have one of those intro calls, go to contractorcuts.com or prostruck360.com and go to contact us. We'd love to have that conversation, help you out for free. If you want to get into coaching, let me know. I like to start with that conversation either way. Some guys aren't ready for coaching, and I do not want you in here unless it's a really good fit for both sides. So let's have that conversation. Let's start it's not a commitment to have a conversation. It's more getting more information of when the best time to make a decision to partner up with us is. So we'd love to talk to you guys about that. Love to have a Zoom with you and hear about your company. All right. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
See ya.